Hey boys and girls, so today we're going over Unit 3, Lesson 7, which is interval notation. Before we get started, just make sure that you write your name at the top of the page and then we can begin. So as I look at the do now, it says solve the following compound inequality. Compound is a key word. I'm going to highlight that. It means more than one. Just like when you have a compound word, it's taking two words and putting them together. So I have more than one inequality. I'm taking two inequalities and putting them together. All right, I'm gonna just draw my train tracks and start solving the first one. All right, so the first step is gonna be undoing any addition or subtraction. So I'm gonna subtract 8 on both sides. The opposite of adding is subtracting. This cancels. Now I have a 2x on the left and a -2 on the right. I'm gonna keep going here. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. Whenever I have a number and a letter mushed together, mushed is multiply. The opposite is divide. So I'm gonna divide out both sides by 2. So all I have on the left is x. On the right, -2 divided by 2 is -1. And since I did not divide by a negative, this inequality is not going to flip. So I have x is greater than -1. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve my second inequality. Again, I'm going to draw my train tracks here. First step, undo any addition or subtraction. So I'm going to move +27 over by making it a -27. This cancels. All I have left is a 3x. 42 minus 27 is 15. And then again, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. That cancels out. All I have left is an x on the left-hand side. 15 divided by 3 is 5 on the right-hand side. I did not divide by a negative, so this will not change. It's going to stay less than or equal to. And then down here it says write your answer as a compound inequality. So this would be a singular inequality. This is a singular inequality when they're separate, but now I want to put them together. So I have x is less than or equal to, I'm just going to copy this over in blue, it's less than or equal to 5. All right, x is less than or equal to 5, x is less than or equal to 5. All right, so that's going to go on the second half of this compound inequality. Now the first half is a little bit trickier because x is on the left and my number is on the right. But we had gone over how you can rewrite that. If I switch x and -1, right, I'm going to switch x and -1. That means I just switch that inequality as well. So instead of greater than, I'm going to write it as less than. Okay, these two guys are saying the exact same thing. I'm just writing it two different ways. So now x is less than, let me fill that in here, and then -1 would go on the end. All right, I know in some of the other videos, maybe you had heard us talking about the inequality as a shark. Right now, my shark is eating my x, right? His mouth is facing the x. Again, the mouth is facing the x. So I know there's no mistakes. And this is how you would write a compound inequality. I'm taking two inequalities and putting them together. All right, now we're going to go over a different way today of writing a compound inequality. Instead, we're going to write it using interval notation. All right, and here's the notes underneath at the bottom. Let me just slide myself up here. All right, it says an interval is a connected subset of numbers. All right, our do now is an example of one way to write an interval. This would have been a compound inequality. Instead of writing it as a compound inequality, I can also write it in interval notation. That's going to be our goal for today, interval notation. All right, interval notation is a nice, clean way of writing an inequality. So instead of writing a compound inequality, like -1 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 5, I can also write it as interval notation. So -1 is my smaller number, comma, 5 is my bigger number. And since -1 is not included, all right, it's just that less than symbol, this gets a parenthesis. And since 5 is included, it's less than or equal to, it could be 5, this will actually get a bracket. Okay, and we're going to go over these symbols down right here in the notes. So anytime you have a less than or greater than symbol, this is not included, you would use parentheses. okay? So when I'm writing my interval notation, I would use parenthesis. But if I'm graphing this on a number line, this would get an open circle, or it would mean it is not included in my answer choices. All right, same thing here. If it's less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, well, it could be that number. All right, so that you would use a bracket for. And then again, since this is included, it could be the answer. This would get a closed circle on a number line. Or I could say this would be an included answer. It's a part of my answer choices. I could pick that number. And then underneath, the infinity symbol looks like this. It's like an 8 kind of sitting on its side. All right, infinity is always expressed as being not included. I have no idea what infinity is. All right, let's say I'm doing positive infinity. I have the number 5. What's greater than 5? 10. What's greater than 10? A million. What's greater than a million? I could keep playing this game forever for infinity. So since I don't know what this number is, I can't say it's included. That means it is not included. All right. Even Buzz Lightyear, he says to infinity and beyond. Boom. All right. So again, therefore, we're going to use parentheses anytime we have an infinity symbol. All right, down below. It says in the inequality, x is greater than 4. That means any answer that would work for this inequality, it would have to be a number that is greater than 4. 4 doesn't work. 5, 6, 7, 100, all of those work, but 4 doesn't. I have to be bigger than 4, all right? And it's going to go all the way to infinity, all right? Because again, greater than 4, I could keep counting on forever. 5, 10, a million, 10 million, it goes on for infinity, all right? And then this interval notation, here we go. When I write interval notation, you always have to put your smaller number first and your larger number second, okay? Just like a number line. Smaller number comes first, larger comes second. Well, right now, my smaller number is 4. 4 would come first. My larger number would be infinity because I'm looking for numbers that are greater than 4, like 5, 6, 100, a million, infinity. And now how would I write this as interval notation? Well, 4 has the greater than symbol. Greater than means it's not included. It gets a parenthesis. So I'm going to put a parenthesis on the number 4. Infinity, okay, is also not included. So it also gets a parenthesis because I don't know what infinity is. So this would be the interval notation for x being greater than 4. This is how you would write it. And we're going to practice that more on the next page. So here we go. Let's all flip and go to page 2. All right. You guys might have seen this from middle school. These are just those nice little smiley faces that represent inequalities. So if I have the greater than or less than symbol, that's going to be an open circle with a parenthesis. If I have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, okay, either one of those, it would be a closed circle with a bracket, okay? The dashed and the solid line comes with graphing. Okay, we're not going to do that today. But again, if this is something that you like to memorize and it helps you, I know that it helps me. Feel free to add this to your notes and memorize inequalities this way. All right, here we go. Our first inequality. It says x is less than 4. Well, if x is less than 4, the first thing I want to do if I have to start adding this to my number line would be putting that inequality on it. Okay, so here my solution to the inequality is the number 4. So I'm going to add the number 4 on my number line here. Next, I have to decide if 4 is going to be an open or closed circle. Well, less than is an open circle, right? If I'm less than 4, that means I can't be 4. That means it cannot be included. Open. And if I'm less than 4, I know on a number line, numbers that are less than 4 live to the left-hand side. All right, so I'm going to shade this in. Again, if I want to finish this number line, numbers that are less than 4 would be 3, 2, 1, right? 0, it goes on forever. Numbers that are greater than 4 would be 5, 6, 7, right? 8, 9, 10, it goes on forever. Okay, now I filled out my number line completely using this inequality. Now I want to write this in interval notation, what we just went over on the first page. So again, I want to have my smaller number first and my larger number second. Just like a number line, small comes first, large comes second. And here we go, all the way to the left. This would be what my smallest number is represented by. And all the way to the right, this is what my largest number would be represented by. Well, my smallest number has an arrow going to the left. That means I'm getting small forever. So if I'm getting small forever, that would be negative infinity. All right? And again, if I'm going to the right for my larger number, well, my larger number has to be 4. All right, so I'm going to stop right there. I got my small, my large, small, large. So now I got to ask myself, well, negative infinity, is that going to get a parenthesis or a bracket? Well, I don't know what negative infinity is. It just goes on forever. So this would get a parenthesis, all right? And then 4, I want to be less than 4. 4 isn't included, so when it's not included, it also gets a parenthesis. So this would have been the interval notation for x being less than 4. Let's do one more before you try some on your own. So here we go. X is greater than negative 2. My first step is to put my solution from the inequality on my number line. I just like to put that answer in the middle. Totally up to you. Next, I want numbers that are greater than negative 2. If I want to be greater than, that means I'm shading to the right-hand side. So this is where my inequality would be shaded on this number line. And again, if I want to be greater than negative 2, that would be negative 1, 0, 1, right? 2, 3, 4, it goes on forever. And if I want to be less than negative 2, that would be negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Okay, I'm getting further away from 0. And last but not least, negative 2 is not included. I'm greater than negative 2, so this would be an open circle. Doesn't count. Next, I want to write this number line using interval notation. Again, interval notation says I put my small number first, my large number second. All right, so here we go. I can see that all the way to the left is my negative 2 that has my circle here. And all the way to the right would be an arrow, right, that's shaded. So again, my smallest number that I'm using is negative 2. I'm going to write that down here, comma. My largest number has an arrow. An arrow represents, it goes on forever. That would be infinity. And since I'm going to the right, that would be positive infinity. And then again, because this is not included, okay, it's just the greater than symbol. Greater than is a parenthesis. It's not included. And infinity, I have no idea what infinity is. So again, that would be a parenthesis as well. All right, I want you guys to try the next two on your own. So just quickly press pause. Do exactly the same steps that I am, guys. It's not a race, okay? Just try to do your best and then click play when you feel like you're done. All right, here we go. These were the answers. So again, as I'm graphing here, x is less than or equal to negative 1. So that would get a closed circle on negative 1. And since I'm less than or equal to, I want to shade to the left. That's where all my numbers that are less than negative 1 would be. I can see that I'm ending at my arrow, okay, and I'm going all the way to negative 1. So this is my small, this is my big. My smallest would be negative infinity because I'm going to the left forever. My largest would be negative 1. But since I can be less than or equal, I can equal negative 1, this is included. All right, so that would get a bracket. Be very careful. If you use the smiley faces up top here, anytime I have a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, again, that gets a bracket. And then if I look down here at the last example, again, I was greater than or equal to 0. This would have been the number line with the answer. All right, example 2 down below. And it says, for the graph below, write. I want to write my answer as an inequality, and I also want to write it as interval notation. Well, I'm going to say that the variable I'm dealing with is x, and if I look at the number that has the circle, it's 3. So 3 is going to be the solution to this inequality. But now I got to check. Open would be less than or greater than, okay? If I'm shading to the left, I'm getting smaller than 3. That means I'm really less than 3. So this would be the inequality, x is less than 3. Now, if I want to write this in interval notation, I'm going to use the trick that we were using up top. I know that my smaller number comes first, my larger number comes second. So here we go, all the way to the left for my smallest number is an arrow. Be careful, it's not -3, it's an arrow. It says I'm going to the left forever, all right? And then all the way to the right, I'm stopping at 3, it's circled. All right, so since 3 is an open circle, I know that that means it is not included. So my smallest number is -infinity. My largest number is +3, and they both get a parenthesis. I don't know what -infinity is, so I can't include it, so it gets a parenthesis. And 3 has an open circle, it's not included, so it also gets a parenthesis. And then down below, let's look at example 3 together. All right, example 3, it says, which of the following represents the compound inequality? -5 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 19. Now, this might look tough, but I actually really like these. For me, these are simple because I know when I see that equal symbol, right, less than or equal to, that's a bracket. And when I don't see it, that means 19 is not included, and that's a parenthesis. So now I just have to look. -5 comes first with a bracket, 19 comes second with a parenthesis, and it looks like the only answer choice that has that is choice C. All right, and then I would have been done with example 3. All right, when you guys look at the next page, for examples 4, 5, and 6, I want you to try those on your own. So at this point, again, just press pause, try 4, 5, 6, and once you're done, all right, here we go. Number 4, it says, which of the following represents the solution set of those two inequalities? So I solved both of them to get those inequality answers. And then I remembered if I want to write them in interval notation, my smallest number goes first, my larger number goes second. All right, so 2 and 6. Right away, I know that B can't be the answer because I didn't get 3. And I know A can't be the answer because that's writing it backwards, 6 and then 2. It's 2 and then 6. So I know it's C or D. Again, 2 is not included. It's just greater than 2, parenthesis. I'm less than or equal to 6. I could be 6, bracket. So I know that has to be answer choice C. All right, so fill that in with me. As we look here at number 5, all right, it says write the solution using interval notation. So again, I'm just solving all the way through. When I want to write this as an interval, I just drew a number line, a quick one to help me. All right, so I know that my solution to this inequality was 6. 6 gets an open circle, and I'm less than 6, so I'm shading to the left forever. All right, my smallest number was -infinity. My larger number was 6. All right, and they both get a parenthesis, they're not included. All right, and then same thing for number 6. Write the solution using interval notation. Again, I'm seeing interval notation on 5, interval notation on 6. All right, that's how I know it's got to be written like this, okay, and not like this. This is an inequality. This is interval notation. So after I solve and show all my work, I got -4 is greater than n. but that looks a little funky to me because usually the variable is on the left-hand side. So I switched -4 and n. So since I'm switching those, I also had to switch the inequality. Another way to remember, the shark, that open mouth is eating -4. That shark, the open mouth, is eating -4. All right, so I know there's no mistakes. Again, I drew a number line to help me come up with my interval notation answer. All right, make sure that you guys are getting the closer, okay, done on your own. Make sure you show all of your work. And then on the back is the independent practice. Okay, that's gonna be your homework. It has 4 questions. Make sure that you guys are showing your work on all 4 of these. All right, have a great day.